Hey, this is Jeff Rose, Good Financial Sense. Welcome, everybody. Right now, it is a few days after I've competed in the Urbanathlon up in Chicago. It's about 3 days afterwards, and I'm in the office and just kind of wanted to share a recap of how the race was and also some few tips of how I should have trained for the Urbanathlon. If you recall that I really did no training other than my CrossFit workouts. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that. So for anyone else that might be interested in competing the next event, that they have a pretty good heads up. So anyway, so the race was this past Saturday. The start time was 8 o'clock in the morning, the first wave at least, and the weather was gorgeous. This is up in Chicago. I want to say it was almost 50 to 60 degrees around the beginning of the race, and throughout the entire race, I ran in shorts and a t-shirt, Under Armour shirt. So the weather couldn't have been any better. It was just fantastic, fantastic, perfect racing weather for Urbanathlon. So the race kicks off and we start running. Me and my buddy actually, we didn't really decide we were going to do it together, but we thought, hey, we kind of trained and we're about the same caliber as far as running. So me and him started running together, and we're just running through the streets of Chicago. And I mean, it was just freaking amazing. As you're just walking, running, you're just kind of looking up and looking at the whole scenery of all the buildings and all the architecture of Chicago, and it was just it was great. And for somebody that hates running as much as I do, it was really good because it kind of allowed you to kind of take your mind off of what you really were doing, running and beating the pavement. So we were running and just running up the roads, and we started heading towards Navy Pier, and the whole course was just ingenious. The people that had to actually uh, map out the course and the whole logistics of having the whole thing set up was, you could tell a lot of time was put into it, because we're kind of running up a road, then all of a sudden we're crossing some bridge, and then we're turning right up kind of by Navy Pier, going down a service road, and then we turn around in some parking garage, some covered parking garage, and then we come out on the south side of the pier, which is kind of like the main boardwalk. And that was about the 2.5 mile stretch, and then we hit our first obstacle. This first obstacle, you had to scale like a big monster tire. It's really hard to remember every single obstacle because you were just so focused trying to get through it. But I remember scaling a big monster tire. Then you had to climb up a kind of a platform. And then you had to do kind of like a tire shuffle. And the first obstacle was fairly easy. It was actually a lot shorter than I thought it was. A lot shorter than the race map had shown. They had kind of had to show that the tire shuffling portion was like 4 times as long as it actually was. So I'm not sure what the reasoning on that was, but I didn't mind. So we hit that first obstacle, and it was smooth. We're sailing along, everything's going good, and we then approached the second obstacle. I think we had to run another mile or so, and this one actually was pretty tough. You had to kind of scale. I'd say they're almost like 4 foot barriers, and just high enough where you had to climb over it or try to shoot over it. And they'd have like three in a row. So you had to scale three, and then they had like these kind of like these policed barricades where you had to crawl under. So it's kind of like up, down, up, down, up, down. And there was probably, I want to say, like 8 different transitions of that. Three barricades and two police barriers. And it was good. I mean, it was good enough to get you winded. I mean, and after that point, we ran almost 3 miles. So I remember getting out there thinking, wow, okay, that's pretty legit. My heart rate's up, and let's get to it. So we finished that obstacle, and we started heading south down Lakeshore Drive, running right next to Lake Michigan. And I was initially kind of scared about this stretch because, once again, I hate running. I can't stress that enough, how much I hate running. And this particular stretch from obstacle 2 to obstacle 3 was like, I believe, almost like 2.75 miles. Could be a little bit wrong, but I remember it was one of the longest stretches of just constant running. And I was just kind of worried that I'd have to walk, or it was just I just couldn't handle it. And running right next to Lakeshore Drive and had the breeze coming off the lake. I mean, it was awesome. It was so cool. And never once did we even walk. It just had a nice solid pace going, and the breeze and the weather definitely helped. And so it was cool. So then we approached the third obstacle, and I'm trying to remember everything, but I think the third obstacle they actually was supposed to be running up and down cars, and then you had like these really tall only I could call them was like steeple chases, and that's probably the incorrect term, but they actually had to close off the cars because they were slippery and people were falling. And I think my wife was there taking pictures at that point in time, and she said that somebody actually fell through one of the back windshields, like completely busted it out, and was all cut up. And yeah, it just wasn't a good scene. I missed that, so by the time we got there, they actually closed off that portion. So you had to climb over. I want to say once again it was like eight. I don't know if eight is the magic number, but they were like these big steeple things that they're about head level. So I mean, you had to climb up, get over, and and it was tough. And luckily, people were kind of helping each other out. The ones that were having struggle. And I know the first attempt, I had I not locked my foot in on one of the side braces, that I would have made it. I was coming back over, so I wedged my foot in there, which probably wasn't recommended because I could have maybe broken my foot. But anyway, I got through that first one, and then I kind of got the hang of it. So we finished that and started to keep going. And now I remember we ran a little bit, and then we went up through McCormick Place, and just basically just to go up the stairs and up on the outside deck, and then down some stairs and through a tunnel. And then they had like we were supposed to do like the military crawl under like a cargo net with some monkey bars. And I will say this is probably I was really surprised because when you looked at the map, and if you go on the Urbanathlon website, you'll see it. You They had like looks like it's supposed to be like military low crawl, walking on all fours under a cargo net, and then you had these monkey bars, and the monkey bars they had looked really really long. But the actual obstacle itself was one set of cargo nets, one set of monkey bars, and one more cargo net, and you were done. And I thought it was kind of weak personally. I was actually looking forward to the monkey bars. I thought it'd be kind of cool, and there was only like maybe 12 rungs on the monkey bar itself. I thought there'd be like 20, and like maybe four sets of those, and there was only one. And the cargo net was so loose and so high to where you didn't have to get on all fours. I mean, if you kind of like bent over and got the net on your back, you could just kind of walk, low. And if you got behind somebody that was tall, you could just kind of ride underneath them, which I actually did on the second wave. So it was kind of weak. I ain't gonna lie. So but whatever. It was still a good obstacle, and so we finished that and continued on, and now I'm just trying to refresh my memory. So as we're then approaching, we're now heading towards Soldier Field, which is the dreaded stairs that a lot of people talk about, and we're approaching there. And I think I hit mile 7, right before Soldier Field came into play. And for me, this is when it all went downhill. We hit mile 7, and I remember feeling this little cringe in my left calf, the beginning of a cramp. And I was thinking, oh crap, don't do this. Don't do this to me. So, I felt it, but then it kind of dissipated a little bit. It wasn't really that bad. And then we had to run like through some outdoor steps to get into Soldier Field. And then when you actually finally got in the stadium where you were going to begin the stair run, it got bottlenecked. There were so many people in there. I'm not sure if they didn't anticipate that many people. I don't know what the issue was, but I remember we were standing there for at least 8 to 10 minutes. For me, that's when it started getting really bad. Every time I was running on an incline or a decline, my left calf really, really started to cramp up really bad. And it wasn't so much bad on like a flat surface, but incline or decline, it was horrible. So, and it was like these, imagine if you go to like any type of sports stadium, how you're going up the ramps, to get to your seats. We were running up and down those, trying to get, I assume, to the last part of the actual stair run, which was like the upper deck of Soldier Field. So finally we get there, and once again it's all kind of bottlenecked, and so we're like just going up and down stairs, and we went up one descent, down a descent, up and down, and that was it. But I tell you, I mean, it freaking kicked my butt. I mean, at that point in time, I think we had crossed mile 8 somewhere, but maybe not, somewhere about mile 7.5 in that whole stretch, and my legs were just toast. But anyway, we made it through that. Got out of Soldier Field. My buddy had kind of waited for me because I had stopped a few times to kind of try to stretch out my calves. And once we exited Soldier Field, I think I heard somebody say, hey, there's about 1.5 miles left. So we're like, all right, let's do this. Let's finish this. So we start running together, and I don't think I even made it 200 meters, if that. And then my right calf started cramping up. I'm like, oh, come on. Really? You're really going to do this to me right now? So, my left calf is cramping, my right calf is cramping. I had to kind of peel over the side of the road, side the running road, and just start to stretch out. And my buddy didn't see me. He just kept going and was looking for me, but I could tell he couldn't see me. But I'm like, you know what? He just needed to go and finish. Don't wait on me. So I was trying to, keep loose, keep my calves stretched out, and started running again. And sure enough, every 250 meters or so, I mean, they would just cramp up. And part of me was like, man, just suck it up and just go. But what started happening was my right hamstring started cramping up too. And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, if my hamstring cramps up, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, there's no more running. I'm going to have to freaking hobble my way to get there. And I think at this point in time, when I start feeling the hamstring go, I mean, I'm less than a mile from the finish. I mean, I'm so freaking close. And I'm just like, I got to finish. I got to finish. But, I would still like run. I'd run as far as I could before both calves started to cramp up real bad. And then if I start feeling the hamstring, then I just kind of pull over and just stretch it out, walk a little bit and get going. So finally, you're getting close to the finish line. You can hear the music, you hear the people, and the last obstacle was having to climb over the back of cars, like just on the trunk side. You had to climb over, I think, like 3 cars. There was a huge bus that was draped over with a big cargo net that you had to climb over onto the top of the bus, using the cargo net, and then turn around and climb back down. And then after that, there was the 8-foot wall, the last 8-foot wall that you had to scale. And once you cross that, you're home free. So I get there, I get to the cars, getting ready to start the last obstacle. And at that point in time, I didn't tell you, my right quadricep started to cramp up and lock up. And dear Lord, I mean, I just felt like an old man at that point in time. I mean, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, please just let me finish. And part of me wanted to kind of like just kind of stretch it out right there, just so I could finish it. But the other side of me is like, everyone's there screaming like, everybody's just like so pumped up. And I'm like, screw this, I just got to finish. So I just start jumping over cars and climbing up on the bus and get over. And at that point in time, I finished that, and I'm trying to like keep my quad, loose, and I'm trying to, jump over this wall, and finally I just said screw it and just did it and scaled it, with a lot easier than I thought I would be, and got over the wall, sprinted the finish line and crossed, and just felt so relieved that I finally did it, and I can't tell you how great of a feeling it was. And my wife was there at the end. She's like, "How you feeling?" I'm like, not good, not good at all. I'm hurting bad, and just standing there and trying to hydrate a little bit. And they had a racer food section where you could get bagels and bananas and Powerade Zero and everything you needed to rehydrate. And I'm chugging all that down, eating banana, trying to get the cramping to go away. And they also had like a stretching area where you could stand in line, and had like kind of like massage tables where people would stretch you out. And I stood in line for maybe 15 minutes, and it was well worth it. I was so freaking tight. The guy even commented, "He's like, man, he's like, your hamstrings are really tight." I'm like, yeah, I know. I was cramping like a fool. So anyway, it was a blast. Anybody that's considering doing the Urbanathlon, I highly recommend it. It was one of the best things, one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, to do it and to finish it. And I know differently, I will run more prior to, and I will also run stairs. I will try to like run a mile or two, then run some stairs, and try to run a little bit after that. I think having those two things, I think, would be a good pre-training, for next year, because we already decided we are going to do it next year. If we could sign up today, I think we would have, but we made the commitment. We had a blast. It was just cool to get up to the city, just to kind of get away for a little bit, compete, and just give it everything we had. So if you're thinking about doing the Urbanathlon and you've got more questions, hit me up. Feel free to let me know. Just kind of want to give you a recap, just how it was and how fun it was. So hopefully, if you're thinking about doing it, make it a goal for next year, 2011 Urbanathlon Chicago. This is Jeff Rose, Good Financial Sense.